You're watching Let the Quran Speak. I'm Sophia, your host. The Quran seems to outline the stages of human development. We'll be looking at a verse to that effect as part of our Misunderstood Quranic Verses series. It's from chapter 23, verses 12 to 14. Dr. Shabir, let's discuss that verse. So the verse goes like this: "And indeed, we raised humankind from an extract of clay, then placed each human as a sperm drop in a secure place. Then we developed the drop into a clinging clot, then developed the clot into a lump of flesh, then developed the lump into bones, then clothed the bones with flesh, then we brought it into being as a new creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators." This is Sahih International. I just picked it randomly. I don't know what you think of this translation, if you prefer a different one, but basically a lot of questions are raised about how this verse was understood by early commentators on the Quran and how we interpret it today. Dr. Shabir.
Yeah. So the translation you read is fine. It's a modern translation, and it probably, reflects some modern thought about the verse. But the classical commentators, could not understand this as we do today, because today we are armed with scientific knowledge, and they, lived in a pre-scientific world. The verse says in Arabic, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا. So
what a detailed explanation with a lot of repetition.
Yes. And then it ends by saying, فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. Glory be to God, who is the best of all creators. So if I'm to translate it line by line, it will go something like this. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. We created human beings from an extract of the clay, or something like this. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. Then we placed him as a tiny drop in a secure place. ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. Then we created the nutfa, into that tiny drop, into a thing that clings. ثم خلقنا العلقة مضغة. Then we caused that clinger to become a lump. ثم خلقنا المضغة عظاما. Then we shape that lump into bones. فكسونا العظام لحما. Then we we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we made him into فَجَعَلْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. And then we made him into a new creation. Glory be to God, who is the best of creators. The idea that human beings were they develop in the wombs of their mothers in stages. This was only proposed within the last couple of centuries. Prior to that, people had the pre-scientific idea that, these were even scientists in the 18th centuries and so on. They had the idea, some thought that a tiny human being is contained within the sperm of the father. And then when it enters the womb of the mother, there it develops and grows larger. And some others thought that it was in the ovum of the woman, and then the sperm of the man acts as a sort of catalyst, just as rennet acts on cheese to coagulate it and form it into the full-grown human being. But little did they understand that it's by the fusion of sperm and egg, as we understand today. Of course, this understanding comes with the development and use of the microscope, which is only within the last 400 or 500 years. So the ancients could not have understood it in this detail. So the commentators on the Quran had that pre-scientific understanding. And so with that in mind, that affects Islamic law as well, because when they think about, when a woman is ready to get married, if she was divorced, and they think, or if her husband had died, like what would be the waiting period in case she was pregnant? So some said that the waiting period is until she delivers her baby. And which could be many months past the usual waiting period of 4 months and 10 days in the case of a widow, or 3 months in case of a divorced woman. So why they wanted to wait until the pregnancy is over? Partly because they thought that if she continues to, if she has intercourse with a new husband, then his sperm would affect the development of the child.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they did not have the understanding as we do today that once the sperm and egg have met and fused, then this is the child and that's genetically sealed. Anyway, so you can see how it is important for us to go back to these verses and understand them with our scientific understanding, because this is a gift from God. God has gifted us and, blessed us to live in a time when we have this knowledge. We can't ignore what God is guiding us towards by just simply say, we're just following the way of the pious predecessors, and we're just going to understand the Quran as we think that they understood it. And I want to interject that thing, as we think that they understood it, because we don't really know. We just have narratives about what they said, but even those narratives are questionable. Bear in mind, Safiya, that even when we talk about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and somebody says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said X, Y, Z, and there are hadiths which warn us against attributing anything to the Prophet, peace be upon him. And yet people attributed things to him that he didn't say. You can well imagine how people attributed things to lesser than the Prophet, peace be upon him, because there's no such warning, right? Of course, there's a general warning. We should not lie. We should not fabricate. We should not, ingenuously or disingenuously invent things and so on. But anyway, it's important that we bring our scientific understanding to the passages, because it affects things like Islamic law. Now, coming back to the verse under discussion, the verse says that God created us from a nutfa, which is a tiny drop, and then placed that in a secure place, which is obviously the womb of the mother, then changed that drop into a clinging thing. Now, that we can see with graphic images nowadays through ultrasound that the human embryo at the very early stage is like a clinger. It's hanging on, and that suits exactly the way this verse is worded. And then that is changed into a lump, which then is developed into bones and then eventually clothed with flesh. So the fact that this develops in stages, this is all new, and this is what we understand in our modern times. The classical commentators could not understand this, no fault of theirs, but we need to bring the modern scientific understanding to this. So the verse was misunderstood, and now we have a whole new level of understanding to bring to it. And with that whole new level of understanding, we can understand Islamic law even better.
And I guess we can appreciate God's message even better as well, right?
Yes, and we can also see
and have better trust in it, right?
That's true. And we can see that this was not knowledge that was available to people in the 7th century, so it was not available to our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or even to the commentators later than him. And now modern scientists are discovering this. We mentioned Dr. Maurice Bouquet in a previous episode. I can mention in this regard also Dr. Keith Moore, who wrote the book on embryology that was being studied in universities throughout the Western world, and TVN Prasad, Dr. Prasad from the University of Manitoba, who continued to write the books on embryology, again, for university study. So these are experts, and these are some of the observations that they have been struck with when they came across the verses of the Quran dealing with this.
Fascinating. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.